Welcome to the Wizards official podcast with our hosts, Bryce, Will, and Mike.
This is Will with the store. This is we're at the PPTQ that just happened today. We're here with the judge that was running today, Jonathan, and the winner.
Hi, I'm Zach.
So, for those who are new to Magic and who haven't really played before, explain to us kind of what is a PPTQ.
PPTQ is the first step to get to the Pro Tour, where all the big names and bright lights and flashy cars. The first step to getting to the Pro Tour. The stiffest competition.
It's the best tournament to play. They're
Best
super
tournament
fun.
to play. And if you come and play at a PPTQ and you get first place, you get to go to the regional Pro Tour qualifier. And then, depending on how many people show up there, you do well there, you get to go to the Pro Tour.
Yeah,
Play with all the pros.
for people that live in Edmonton, that's usually like we've had a couple of the regional ones, but they're all pretty poorly attended, so we don't get them anymore. So we have to, everyone usually has to travel, so a bunch of us usually fly out to Seattle or drive down, or Montreal and Toronto or like the other two. But you can also play on Magic Online, which is kind of nice for people that don't want to spend infinite money on a trip. But if anyone does win one of these, I highly recommend playing in paper because it's really fun to like trip with your buddies.
And you get free foils for showing up.
Yes, you get like a free like $100 to like $200 foil.
Then people abuse that and they not give us nice things anymore.
Yeah.
So we now know how that kind of works. So you've been playing a few of these tournaments, it sounds like.
Yeah, I certainly played over 50 PPTQs.
Nice. So as a player who's looking into this sort of like, they may be playing for a while and kind of getting their deck and they're getting good, what would you recommend to people who might want to try out like an event like this?
Okay, so the first thing is like if you're just starting out, play whatever you're comfortable with. If you have a friend that'll lend you decks, that's awesome, but you should play with what you're comfortable with. Don't try and learn a deck during the tournament. That's not a recipe for success.
Usually ends poorly.
Yeah, come in with like tempered expectations, right? If you've been practicing a lot, like that's awesome, and you know what your deck does, you know what other people's deck does, that's great. But like again, like everyone has bad days, and it's like if you go 0-3 drop, like that's not actually too bad. Like there are a bunch of these per season. Like I've not prized most of the ones I've played this season, but we got there today, so that's nice. Yeah, just know your deck. Know your deck. Aim to have fun.
What was your deck then?
So I played 5-color humans. That's the deck I played at the Pro Tour in Bilbao, Spain, like 6 months ago, and I really liked it there. I like kind of was off it for a little bit locally because of a bunch of people were playing control decks and Tron decks, which are really hard matchups.
A lot of people like Tron.
Yeah, and so, but then felt like people were moving off those decks a little bit, and I'm super comfortable with it. So
it's a good metagame.
Yeah, and I mean, I faced all good matches basically the whole day. There were 2 Tron players that showed up, and they both did very poorly. So I dodged that. I played a bunch of matches I was very comfortable with. And so, yeah. And you did it. I'm taking it down, yeah.
So to talk about decks, I know I saw you flipping through people's decks, pulling a TSA sort of random check there. Why don't you explain to us what that was and what do people need to make a deck for this event?
Part of the experience of playing a competitive level event is that you have to create a deck list, which is just a summary of all the stuff you put into your deck. Minimum 60 cards in the main deck, up to 15 in the sideboard. Usually exactly 60 and exactly 15 is the way to go. And you write that down on paper, and every now and then a judge will come by and say, hey, I'm going to look at what you're playing and see if it matches up exactly to the list that you created. If it doesn't, you could get in a couple penalties. It's not like you're disqualified or you can't play Magic ever again.
Unless you were doing it on purpose.
Unless you were doing it on purpose. Don't do that.
We all make mistakes.
You get some penalties, everybody makes mistakes, and Wizards of the Coast tries their best to not be heavy-handed. There's a lot of fair penalties, but it's there to prevent people from abusing the system. So they don't try and bring in cards from outside of their deck in the middle of a match.
Winners don't do drugs unless it's steroids. They do lots of drugs. Favorite quote. I know it's kind of a little off topic with Magic here, but I know in the Warhammer scene, because I know you have the fancy judge shirt for Magic, and today's your day. But my thing is I'm a judge. I run Warhammer and D&D tournaments. I know right now the big problem is with cheating, with cheaters and stuff. How do you do a system like this? And a lot of people's main concern is like doing a Wizards of the Coast sort of DCI system, but they're worried about judges being like, oh, I didn't like playing against this guy, I'm just going to say he got disqualified and now he can't play somewhere. What do you have to say? What do you guys have to say about worrying about judges? Have you guys ever interacted with a game scenario where you thought like the cheating was not being called out, or someone was kind of using hurt feelings against you, like bad sportsmanship?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm also a judge just like John.
He is the same
believe it
level
or
as
not, I just like playing because it's super fun.
Everyone's a judge.
Yeah, so for sure, it's. You don't really have the issue with like corruption, I guess, where judges are playing favorites, because the community's pretty, at least here in Alberta, everyone's pretty self-correcting. Like people will call you out on that, and if people are like, man, this judge is clearly just randomly disqualifying people, they're not gonna, stores just aren't gonna hire you to judge their events. So
You'll stop being a judge right
Yeah, it won't go over too well. So that's really like, if that, I've never seen something like that happen, and if it did, like, it would be fixed almost immediately. Like there would be like one bad event.
They hold each other to very high esteem and like requirement that if you get to the level where you're hosting these things, they expect that you know how to do it well, that you are held to a regard where you'll make as few errors as you can. Everybody's a human, so you do. But
but for any sort of like blatant, that's not really a thing I've ever seen in my like 13.
So players shouldn't have to really worry about being like, oh, I have to really remember everything.
Judges are for sure your friends, and like if you're ever not sure of something, you should always just call a judge. You will never get like
never hesitate to call
for calling judges. They're like, it's way better to call a judge before you do something that you're not sure if you ought to do, and it's like way better to ask permission than forgiveness for sure.
So I guess then before we go into our last question of the day, can you guys give us, since you're you're both judges, give us a scenario that you've been into as a judge that you couldn't really think of an answer that you kind of had to make on the fly?
Oh, I remember this.
One of those unique scenarios that never happened.
I came into a ruling situation not that long ago where what I thought the rule was had actually been changed back in like 2014, and I actually just forgot about it. It was, how many lands could you play in a turn? And I was like, oh yeah, it's based on like what the permanent tells you. Oh no, wait, it doesn't work like that anymore.
Yeah, they changed.
Circa Core Set 2014.
Yeah, they changed how playing extra lands in a turn works, and it's really confusing now.
And that came up, and I was corrected by a floor judge of mine. He's like, "Are you sure that's right?" Like, I thought it was. And then we look it up, and of course we fix it immediately as best we can. I was kind of caught in making a mistake because I am human, but we fixed it right away.
Yeah. I did an interesting one. I was judging provincials back like 2 years ago-ish, and so that a player's at like 3 life and has a Chalice of the Void play, which says basically 1 mana spells are countered. But that's a trigger that at a competitive event that you have to, when someone plays a 1 mana spell, you have to say, hey, your thing is countered. And so the player played a Lightning Bolt, which deals 3 damage for 1 mana, trying to kill his opponent. Trying to see if, I'm probably dead, but if he doesn't remember to trigger his Chalice, then, maybe I'll cheese a win. But that's totally within the rules. Like, your opponent has to remember what their cards do, and then, and so the one player, and so the guy said, Lightning Bolt, is it game over? And the guy's like, yeah, and the player with the Chalice, which scooped up his cards, and then they didn't realize who had won the game. So the player with the Chalice had thought that the other guy was conceding because he's like, oh yeah, this Lightning Bolt doesn't do anything. But he didn't actually say, I have a Chalice trigger. And so it was like literally a judge who wins the game here. And it's, it was a hard
combination that Brandon always tells me about. It's like this one card that you play, and if you do anything else, you're always going to get it wrong. So it's like, well, it's up to you guys now to decide who it is.
Unstable draft?
No, it's a real card. I just forget which one it is. It might be an enchantment or something, where it's like creatures' abilities. And like
humility. Yeah, humility is like the big one. Creatures lose all abilities and become one-ones. Yeah, there's a bunch. If you have humility plus, like, humility by itself is not too bad, but like if you add a bunch of other stuff that adds and removes abilities, then it gets really confusing. Yeah.
There's that one, and then there's the other one where it's like you draw a card before your turn even starts, then draw another card sort of scenario, where it's like you draw a new hand, discard, and draw another hand, something like that. Some weird shenanigans where you have 2 hands and you need the judge to be like, yeah, this is the hand.
Oh, like Sylvan Library
and Brainstorm. Yeah, that's Sylvan Library and Brainstorm.
Yeah, don't do that. Call a judge.
Yeah, if you ever have weird shit, just call a judge. Yeah.
I think with that, we're gonna end it here. Thank you guys for the interview and for playing here. Is there any way for players to get information about these PPTQs? Talk to you guys, talk to a judge, kind of learn how to get into.
You
the
should
game?
go to mtgedmonton.ca. It has a nice list of all the events in Edmonton and surrounding area, and it's mostly updated.
And there's lots of stores in Edmonton,
yeah.
in Sherwood Park,
There's
in
also,
St. Albert.
if you're in the on Facebook, the MTG Alberta Facebook group has a sticky post at the top that also has all the events that are coming up.
Here's where you can play the next
Yeah,
3 months.
exactly. Where you can play competitive events. So yeah, between those two resources, you should have everything. You can also use the Wizards website, but that's like kind of less user friendly for sure.
It's harder to maneuver, that's all.
Yeah, and then if you have judge questions in your casual games, there's like an IRC chat that's just full of like on-demand judges. I think it's called Magic Judges or something. But if you Google search Magic Judges IRC, you will definitely get it. And you can just like, if it's 4 a.m. and you want a rules question answered, you will get someone to do it for you.
Someone with qualifications.
That's
Yeah.
insane. I usually just ask Brent.
Yeah, I mean that's also reasonable. But if if you don't have a person who knows the rules super well, that is a resource that exists.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So guys, this has been Will with Jonathan
And Zach.
and Zach, and we will see you guys in the next video.
Cool. Bye.
Bye. And then we're gonna cut it there.
Sweet.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks for doing that. Have a good one.
Conserve ammo and never, ever cut a deal with the dragon.